Yeah, yes, sir.
Today we have one more young Indian with us as part of the Voice of the Young series. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you once again. Today we have with us Rijul Das, an aspiring economist. Let's hear from him. Over to you, Rijul.
Thank you, Subodh sir, for having me over to your YouTube channel. I've gone through the previous Vidpeds and I've really enjoyed some of the conversations. So it feels really nice to be part of that group. And I would also like to apologize right at the beginning because this is the first time I'm speaking on camera. So if I make any mistakes, please forgive me for that.
Okay.
So as
No, we will
Sir
shoot you if
mentioned,
you make a mistake. We will shoot you. Right?
that's a bit harsh, but I'll be careful.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you mentioned that I'm an aspiring economist, so I think that I'd like to sort of tell you my journey.
Okay.
Uh, I would like to go back to my school, particularly in the ninth grade, because that is the first time I was formally introduced to the subject of economics. And you can call it the charm of the discipline, or maybe it was just my teacher's ability. But I fell in love with the subject as right right from its start. I really loved the subject. My teacher was very encouraging, and she taught me the subject very amazingly, and I just fell in love with it. And over the years, as I read more and more about economics, about related social policy and everything, I knew that this is something that I would like to make a career out of. And uh, that is why I decided to major in economics in my college days. And I went to Delhi University to pursue my bachelor's degree in economics. And when I went to Ramjas, I was very fortunate that I had a very amazing set of professors there. I had a very nice set of friends with whom I could discuss and debate about everything, not just studies, but other extracurriculars as well. So I joined college in 2019 July, and my first semester was offline. But as soon as I started my second semester of college in March, COVID happened, and because of the pandemic, our classes became offline. Our classes became online.
Right.
So you might, I think other guests have also spoken about how the pandemic affected their learning during college and so on. And to to a lot of extent, that is the story with me, because a lot of my professors, when the pandemic began, they were not very adept in handling all this Zoom and online classes. There were mistakes, but I would also like to say that the pandemic allowed me to expand my learning horizons in a way that I don't think a typical college experience would have. Because as time became relative, I was able to read a lot, and I think that really allowed me to explore my interests in the discipline. And during my second year of college, I was fortunate enough to do a lot of research internships, because of which I was able to use my knowledge and apply it in real life settings. So I did a lot of internships.
Those internships were all virtual, right? You were
Yeah,
just,
they were.
yeah, that was a big advantage of the pandemic. People got virtually
Yeah.
internships everywhere. Go ahead,
I was
Rijul. We
able
had some
to
problems on your side, but go ahead.
all right. As I was saying that in the second year of my college, I was able to do a lot of research internships. One of the internships that I did was with a professor at IIM Nagpur, where I was involved in a project that studied gendered aspects of migration during the pandemic. And that was the first time I actually was able to use my learning and help a professor in their project. Uh, my duties involved things such as data cleaning, because she had already conducted the survey, she had already done the data collection. I just had to do data cleaning and present some preliminary graphs, statistics, and so on. And my mentor at IIM Nagpur also encouraged me to write, and I think this was a major takeaway from that internship, because my college degree didn't really teach me how to write academically. and this experience really helped me sort of fill that gap. I also did an internship with two PhD students from Yale and UC Berkeley, and that was amazing because that was the first time I used the software R for cool things such as text analysis and web scraping and so on. So that was like I wouldn't have learned all of this in a traditional college curriculum, but
No
because
way.
these
Yeah.
people were these people use these in their work, so that's why I had to learn it on my own. And one thing that was common in both of these experiences was that my mentors, the people to whom I reported, they were very warm and they were very supportive. They sort of encouraged me to learn on my own, and they created that environment where I could make mistakes and learn from them. I think that was really necessary because, again, I'm quite young in this, so that was really useful learning on my own by making those mistakes. In my third year, I was fortunate to be selected for this competition called the South Asian Economics Students Meet. It is a prestigious event because it's funded by the World Bank, and every year, one of the South Asian countries they are chosen as the host, and students from all over South Asia are chosen after a very selective process to represent their countries. I was fortunate enough to represent India in one of these events, and the event was a paper presentation competition, and the particular theme of the paper presentation was on urban transport. So I
Mhm.
had to write up a policy paper on urban transport on any Indian city. So I chose to work on Delhi Metro, particularly how women and gender minorities how they experience safety in Delhi metro. So that was a really fascinating exercise because this was the first time I would be conducting my own data collection. I would be conducting interviews in order to gain some qualitative insights into this topic. And I won that event. So that was like the cementing position as to on my decision to pursue a career in research and analysis. So I was fortunate enough to have these experiences. I also participated in other paper presentation competitions. I won those as well. So that was really nice and fun. Plus, I was also able to earn some money because, after all, college students want they love these experiences. Then, like, my semester exams happened. After taking some break, I decided to apply for jobs, and I was very much decided. I had very much decided that I wanted to work in the social sector, in the research and analysis sectors, in the research and analysis roles. So I was fortunate enough to apply with LEAD. It is a research center based Kriya University. I worked as a research associate in the financial well-being and social protection vertical, and I was involved in several projects. One of the best things about my job was that it allowed me to travel to areas where I would not have otherwise gone. And the purpose of these travels was to conduct field visits and to collect data. And I can't share the project if you need to travel. You need to go to remote places and talk to people. There were a lot of these funny, insightful anecdotes that I have that I experienced when I was in places like Darbhanga, which is in Bihar. It is next to a district known as Madhubani, which is famous for its art and fish. Then I talked to people ranging from farmers to government officials, and that was such a brilliant learning experience because I don't think I would have learned that anywhere else. I talked to them. Whatever my project was about, I talked to them about that, and they gave me their insights. They told me a lot of things, not just about the project, but also their perspective on life, on how they think that what the government can do to help them alleviate
Mhm.
their statuses and so on. So like I really enjoyed going to these places. I loved learning. I loved talking to them a lot, and that is
Okay.
when I decided that I should further pursue my studies in economics. So that
Okay.
is why I decided to focus on my studies for now. So that is pretty much about it, and yeah.
So tell us more about Darbhanga. You know, what was it that stands out to you about Darbhanga?
All right. So, Darbhanga. So, one thing before I tell you about Darbhanga, one thing about me, I've always lived in urban/semi-urban places, and
Yes,
Darbhanga is a complete remote village.
yes.
I remember the day I land, the day I reached Darbhanga to the field to the field site where our project was being undertaken. That is in a place nearly 20 or 30 kilometers away from anything you would consider remote. It is in literally in the middle of the village. It had, and whatever pop culture has taught us about villages, roads, then kacha houses and everything. It was like it was that setting. It was that setting. You transported from a city setting to a rural. I think the census name for Darbhanga, the census classification for Darbhanga would be village dehat, if I'm not mistaken. If you have not, where you have never been, that is a complete life-changing experience. I
Okay.
remember I reached Darbhanga quite late at night, and you know how everyone says when you are going to a village, then you should wake up early so that you can see the sunrise and everything. Village mornings are very beautiful. So I reached late at night, and I thought, okay, I'll wake up early the next morning. So I set an alarm for 5 a.m. and then when the alarm hits, I sort of go to basin is fully teeming with insects and everything. So you don't want to see that the first thing in the morning. I felt very weird, and like I went back to sleep. At around, I think around 2 or 3 hours later, my colleagues they knock my door, and when I tell them, that I was going to my face, and then I see all these insects, and they started laughing, and they said, Rajul, this is your first learning of the field, that you won't always get that pish posh facilities that you're used to.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that more than that, I belong to a very privileged. I'm a very privileged individual because I was expecting a clean basin, but for a lot of people, that's not the reality. So that day I conducted my first interview. I was interviewing a woman about work, and the things that she told me about her entities, about how she manages her work life and her domestic work, that really was an eye opener, because till now you just hear about these things from newspapers in sitting in your houses, but here I was listening to this woman telling me about her ordeals, and that was really heartbreaking. You feel like you feel helpless, because you know that at the end of the day you won't be able to do anything, but you're still sort of charged with this energy. There was another incident that happened where the place that I was staying, it was a hostel of the NGO that we were partnering with, and the cook in that hostel, he and I, we became very good friends by the as our work progressed. So he once made litti choka, which is like a very famous dish from Bihar, and that is the best meal I've ever had. Like there's no, I can't really place anything else above it. That's like the best meal I've ever had. He actually made everything from cow dung, and like the proper authentic process he did that. Then I've also realized that people are very inviting. They would like to talk about their lives. Like in every instance that we went, we informed that we would be conducting an interview. We would be conducting an interview, but then many people who were not our intended audience, intended people, they also came. They also shared their experiences. So I realized that people love to talk about themselves, and they want somebody to hear them.
Mm.
So that was, and whenever we went, wherever we went, they always gave us a cup of tea. They always told us about their lives, and I just realized how different and unique people's perspectives can be. So I would say that if you are, if you really want to understand India, you need to travel, you need to talk to people, and over a cup of tea, and you will learn things that you probably won't have guessed. So those were interesting things. Then I also went to Cooch Bihar and Alipurdwar, which is in West Bengal, for another project. And even there, I had similar experiences. Like people were very welcoming, they were very warm. They always offered us a cup of chai, and they loved talking about themselves. And of course, there are some initial hesitations because at the end of the day, I'm a stranger. But they were still very open, they were very frank, and I really loved that. Like, I really love when people openly and freely talk about themselves. So those were like very amazing experiences, and I would really love to have those again.
Okay. Well, you know, your internet connection has not been good at times, and so sometimes it's we have lost some words, and sometimes your image is frozen.
Oh,
But you know, that's no big deal. You know, that's modern life. You know, not everybody time the internet doesn't work fully all the time, so it'll be like that. But don't worry about it. Okay, when you see, you realize that at times it was not very clear. But that's life. Okay,
okay.
don't worry about it. It happens to everyone once in a while. The internet doesn't behave. The internet doesn't be. Yeah. But I'm really glad you went out to Darbhanga and Cooch Bihar. Uh, those are poorer parts of India, East India. They're poorer
Yeah,
parts, and we really, as economists, need to know what's happening there rather than just
absolutely.
sitting in one place and studying alone. Meet the real people, meet the real world, see for yourself what poverty means. You know, we don't know what.
But it is particularly, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
No,
think it is really important. It is really important for people who formulate policies to actually visit, because it's easy to sit in an AC room and then making these grand assumptions about people, but you really, and it won't work unless you talk to them and unless you understand what their problems are. So
Yeah,
field visits are something that I would really encourage people to undertake.
yeah, you know, there's like even yesterday I posted a video. I mean, there's a lot of talk that India is the fastest growing economy in the world, which is true. And it is the fastest growing market in the world, which is a large market, which is also true. And we feel that, okay, we have arrived, we have hit, we have done it, we are there, the world is waiting, welcoming us. But the reality is when you go to Darbhanga, it doesn't
It's
matter.
very yeah.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
really.
It just
In
doesn't
fact,
matter.
yeah, exactly. In fact, when I was in school, I read one of these articles about malnourishment in India and how India has one of the largest proportions of malnourished children. And that is completely staggering, because you see food grain production rising, but still people are not able to access them. So what's the point of having all this if people are not able to feed themselves a nutritious meal? So we need to have mechanisms, we need to have policies and institutions which will serve common people in order to, so that their lives can improve vastly. So this is, and I think every young person who enters into the discipline of economics, somewhere or the other, they're motivated by this desire to bring about a change, because
Yeah.
you always hear that economic policy can do wonders, and I think largely this belief does remain at the core of every economics student. uh, of course your interests and your career aspirations can differ, but I think at least in the beginning everyone wants to change the world, everyone wants to work towards uplifting lives, and I think that's really nice, and I just hope that it continues to inspire a lot of people to work towards the common good.
Okay. Well, you said you never have spoken in front of a camera, but I think if you speak like this the first time, who knows what you will do the 10th time? You will be a superstar.
you're you're too kind, sir. I thought I was stammering a lot,
No,
but
no, no,
okay.
stammering. No, not at
I
all.
I take your
Your
word.
messages are very clear. Your thinking is very clear. Do you have any final thoughts you want to add? We are coming to an end. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, I would say that if you're a high school student who's looking to take up economics in your college, learn math, that is important, but you also need to learn history, sociology, politics in order to get a more varied understanding. And I would also like to say that if you want to learn about real people, talk to them, and you have no idea how much knowledge you'll gain just by listening to them. So those are like two messages that I'd like to
Okay,
share.
fine. Let's say bye to our viewers. And
Thank you
thank
everyone
you,
for listening.
everybody. I'll be back next time with another young person. In the meantime, bye bye.